Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you for a special edition Matador Mob Mailbag. And the mailbag overfloweth once again. So we waste no time getting off and running. And we're going to kick off the conversation with this one from Dylan. If we would have won another game last year, made a conference championship appearance, do you think we would have gone to the extent or magnitude we did in the portal this year? If you have a different experience a season ago, do we still have this portal party we've all been enjoying for the last few months and weeks?
Yeah, life may look a little bit different right now, for sure. Probably not. I think it's one thing. Like, is the question saying if we get to the title game or if we won the title game? Because there's probably some different degrees of motivation still left, depending on what happened when you got there. If you got to the title game and won it, I would say that life could look very different. Like from the way you attacked the offseason. If you'd gotten to the title game and didn't win it, I could still see. But I mean, I think what allowed them to, because you were right there. So this is just like the set of circumstances that we were under here, because you didn't get there. You were very close. I think that you had motivation, but you also had time. You were able to attack it, and I think that all together was working for the purpose of trying to create. But Calvin, I'm going to continue to say this too. I don't think they had a general intention at the beginning of the portal window to sign 20 people. Or whatever it's been, 21 or whatever it is. I think that it just kind of started to snowball. They started having some success, and then donors were going, okay, is there more people that you like? This is fun, and let's keep attacking. Like, well, there's this other guy, and we can mitigate our risk here if we get this guy, and we do need this insurance policy. And then you think you're done, and then Andrew Luck, God bless him, rolls into Stanford and fires their head coach for inappropriate behavior, and you get maybe the best one of the lot. And to the point where you're like, we'd like to have one of those. That one is a prospect specific. Drop what we're doing, make it happen, and they did. So. Cash Cleveland, byproduct of you got. But so it's a fascinating topic and question. We ultimately don't know. We don't know. But I think that life probably looks a lot different if you had made it to Arlington last year and had you made it to the playoff by winning that game. But you didn't. So here we sit.
Yeah, and it wasn't like whenever you were disqualified from making that appearance last year, you said right then, all right, we're going crazy in the portal. You had some big plans, I think, as far as adding quality in certain spots. But like you're talking about, the snowball effect began to take place, and that's really what led to this experience. And by the way, if we got to trade a title game appearance for this portal party, I will make that swap for next calendar. I'll go ahead and say that. I'm happy to have a lighter off-season experience if it means more happy fun time within the season or within the postseason. Nobody wants to be February champions exclusively. Ask the Aggies. All right. Thank you for that question. You got more?
Because Joey's first comments about it when he was asked, what did he say? We'll take 8 to 10.
Yeah, I think we were talking 10.
And that was even a bit of it was less than that, but yeah, maybe up to 10.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he even said 12 or 8 to 12, somewhere around in that. But I mean, you nearly doubled it. And I think you were still willing to, because I mean, you went way above and beyond, and then you added the 3 in the spring with the receiver, an offensive lineman, and an edge guy. So I will always expect Texas Tech to participate in the portal, though. I just think that's kind of your program, basketball and football wise. But I think you'll see in this next month a lot of groundwork be laid from a high school recruiting class too, which is going to become very important. And yeah. So I'll just say that I think the groundwork has been laid to really have a very strong recruiting class for what would I guess be 2026, which would be this December's signees. But yeah.
All right. Thank you for that question. This question from Jared, who asks, what would college sports look like without the NCAA? At this point, I don't know if it looks all that much different than it does right now. Maybe historically. What do you think?
It depends on, because what it would look like was whoever was in charge. And that would be the unknown. Right now, you kind of know who's in charge, although you question if they really are. There's a president and a face to it with the NCAA. Who would be the end all be all, ruler of the roost, if you will, if they weren't in charge? Do we breaking it off to where, hey, like football is going to police its own self? We're going to come up with a commissioner or a president of the whatever, and then the rest is, there's various, but that's what it would look like, and that's why it's a bit of an unknown. I think because I've always wondered. Okay, so say you do get away from the NCAA, which I do think is a very strong likelihood that all this happens, that in time, and you could argue how much the say so they have now, but okay, well then what? That's what I've always been fascinated by. Who is telling you, yes, you can do that? No, we can't do that. No, this is happening. Yes, this is happening. And where are they from? What do they favor? Because that's always what we always want to know. Is this a big school guy? Is this a blue blood guy? Is this a small school guy? Is this an academic guy? Is this a West Coast guy? Is this an East Coast guy? Is this a Southern guy? Or lady, whatever. And that would be what I would be most curious about is, because the NCAA is this nameless, in so many ways, faceless group located in Indianapolis that just everybody hates. So, there's no necessarily like bias there. So anyway, but that's what I would be curious on what it would look like, is who's now in charge and where are these people? Where are they located? Where are they from? What's their background? That would be what I would be asking at that point.
Are they holograms? Just to circle back to a previous conversation that we had. Thank you for that question.
By the way, your hologram may be going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you got to love that news to wrap up the week, right?
Yeah. But, obviously,
College Football Hall of Fame, for those who hadn't seen it, lessening a winning percentage from 60% to 5.95, I believe, which is is that the exact percentage that Leach has?
Yeah, which is that they've called it the Mike Leach rule. It's semantics. I mean, any math class. I mean, I'm not some math major. I hated math, but I do know enough to know that 5.9 is really 6.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but good for. I wish he would have been around to see this, but I think that's a common sense application. I think there's a lot of people, Archie Manning included, that were integral in kind of making a policy change there. And I will say this too, Calvin. I believe that this will set the stage for him to be a part of the Texas Tech Ring of Honor. That's me stepping out there a bit, but I feel strongly that will happen. What he was honored for, before, when Sharon and the family and all that was more Hall of Fame, I think. But the highest honor, as it relates to the football program, is the Ring of Honor, and he 1,000% deserves to be, and there's no set criteria, but being a member of the College Football Hall of Fame is like, okay, because prime example, Graham Harrell going in the Hall of Fame this year. Guess what's happening this fall? Is he going into the Ring of Honor? I believe so. So,
Interesting.
I mean, and they do that. That's typically what they've done is like when you're going in, they try to, but we've known that Graham was going into the College Football Hall of Fame for a while, and that's what they try to partner it up and
Gotcha.
create. Yeah, but I'd be willing to bet you that that is the case with Mike, and I guess that would be maybe the fall of 27 would potentially be when you could honor him, and he would go into the Hall of Fame in December of 27 if he was a first ballot guy. So anyway, sorry for.
No, that's
But
all good. Got to have him in the mix nationally or locally. You can't tell the story of college football on either front without the special one. So I'm glad that news was there to enjoy to wrap up the week. This question from David, we'll stick with the football program sort of. He's asking about another round of Team Mahomes athletes. Can we expect another announcement? Is it safe to say Micah Hudson's not on that list anymore? So is there a football athlete to take that place? There's a couple of different parts to that question, but what is the status with Team Mahomes? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and the NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on all the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet hits. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to really win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. He's asking about another round of Team Mahomes athletes. Can we expect another announcement? Is it safe to say Micah Hudson's not on that list anymore? So is there a football athlete to take that place? There's a couple of different parts to that question, but what is the status with Team Mahomes?
Yeah, brand ambassadors, I think, is kind of the term that the people in and around that have used. I think you're very strategic with that. I wouldn't just totally rule out that Micah is not that. I think you're probably right in that. Did that? Let's do something else. But is that something you attach to one of these portal guys? Is that something you attach to a younger player? I mean, I think Christian Anderson would be somebody that would be beautiful with that label for basketball. I mean, he's got a chance. He stands for all the right things, and he's a guy that you could grow old with and are trying to grow old with. But yeah, I think you get a new round of those. Although I can't pretend to know like the deal is that year to year, and my guess is it would be. I mean,
And some would stay the same, right? I mean, Najee Kennedy, you're not.
I mean, she would seem to be a fairly good candidate.
I think she'd qualify to stay on the team, Team Mahomes as a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
Been a pretty good one so far.
Yes.
Okay. To be honest, I kind of forgot about this group. It was hyped, and then it was sort of, I never saw much about it since then, so I didn't really know if this was an annual exercise.
Yeah. I think that the bigger picture here is that if there's like an elite level athlete that is like Ludwig Aberg is a prime example. Oberg, excuse me. I think funneling him to the three stripe life is paramount to what Pat is trying to do too. From a, so. David Bailey, for example, may be somebody you're like, hey, when you get picked, let's do, like those are the kinds of the next level type stuff. I think he would like to try to help his brand and the company that is repping him to facilitate good stuff for folks that leave Lubbock and are going to, because I think the track and field aspect is played into this as well. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that question. This one from Sam. Can you give any context to the Big 12 partnership with TNT and HBO, what it actually looks like or what you think it means for the conference as a whole?
I forget the term that they used, but basically they cut a deal and they sold off some of their inventory. What it means for the fan is that you get more over the top network television. I mean, everybody's got TNT on any basic cable. HBO Max is on, on most people's, platform, whether you pay for that or not. By the way, they are going to start calling it HBO Max again after they, for whatever reason, several years ago, like, we're dropping the HBO. We're just going to call it Max. We're going to combine Cinemax and HBO. We're going to just call it Max. And everybody missed the HBO, so they brought it back. I saw that press release like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Never knew Cinemax was involved. I didn't know where the Max was coming from. I never stopped calling it HBO, so I don't have to return to calling it HBO. I'm just doing it the whole time, which I think I speak for America when I say that.
Yeah. But what it means.
By the way, Chris, the kickoff times we've had now released that you and I talked about non-conference wise features a TNT broadcast, right, against Kent State, I think.
Yeah, your second game of the season is an 11 a.m.er on TNT and HBO Max, I believe.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if it's on both or one or whatever, but it'd definitely be on TNT. I don't know if it's also on HBO Max or whatever. But and then it's important to note, as it relates to this partnership, this is a byproduct, or this is just an aside, is that the TNT HBO Max folks will also televise 2 playoff games this fall.
Yeah,
like college football playoff games. So I think they're trying to get involved. This is similar to what the NFL has done with, hey, Amazon Prime, you get 1 playoff game a year. Hey, Peacock, you want a wild card game? Okay, you can get this other stuff, but then we'll give you the one, because I mean, this is the way to drive signups up. I mean, you put live sports is what makes the world go round in live TV. It's the only thing that people stop what they're doing and watch on live TV. You can't tape it. I mean, you can, but it's not but most people watch it live, and we're all sitting every time we go out to eat or go have a beverage or whatever. What's on the TVs everywhere? It's either that one channel Chive, maybe, where there's just silly videos going on left to right on loop.
Yeah.
Which sometimes I can't look away from, and
It's tough to get away from.
Looking at exactly.
Right.
Or it's live sports. That's what's going on, and so I think that's what these streaming services have realized, is like, if we can get a little of this, little of that, it drives signups, and people feel like they've got to have that platform in their streaming portfolio. How about that?
I guess so. I don't know if HBO will get diddly squat out of this as far as signups, and I assume they've got like the same parent company or something, and that's why there's the crossover. But as far as the TNT angle, that's by far the more interesting thing, I think, to most consumers. TNT, I think, has great production value. Obviously, not newbies to the sports realm. It'll be a little bit different, trying to remind myself that there'll be a Big 12 or Texas Tech football game on TNT this fall, but I think we'll get used to it fairly quickly. Obviously, anything on a cable platform or over the air is far more appealing than what you're getting from a streaming standpoint, whether it's ESPN Plus or Peacock or HBO or whatever it might be. But the question that I have, if I can throw one in real quick for you before we leave this subject, do you think TNT can also help you avoid being stuck in the ratings graveyard known as FS1? Because that's also on a cable platform and nobody watches it. I mean, that is the graveyard every week, it seems like. But I sort of feel like maybe TNT is a more known commodity than FS1 on your channel dial. If that makes, I'm speaking like it's 1972. Nobody has dials, but you know what I'm saying.
I think TNT is probably, there's more carriage there for that channel than there is in FS1. Although FS1 is, I mean, it is on most primary. Yeah, I think. But I think TNT
games go to die there. The numbers every week for FS1, it's always
I just think that because they get one of the picks they get like the leftover, or whatever. And I think people don't realize like how hard it is to generate ratings with college football on a Saturday. This is why the fans hate it, but the networks love it, is that 11 a.m. window, because you're unopposed largely. I mean, you're unopposed, and everybody likes the And I say unopposed. There's going to be other 11 a.m. games, but there's just a few. Whereas if you've got the 6 or 6:30, you're competing with all the ones that are starting, which there's probably an ample amount. But then you're competing with the 2:30 games that are finishing up, and it's a giant. It's all over the place, and so nobody is solely focused like they are with the big noon kickoff, which is why the network, is like, this is kind of the holy grail. This is what moves the needle. And speaking of kickoff times, you did your Oregon State game picked up by Big Fox. Now it's not the big noon kickoff, but it will be at 2:30. And I knew that one would be picked up because that's your main non-conference game, and I think Oregon State will be decent enough, but I was surprised that was picked up by Big Fox, if you will. But I do think the TNT thing, though, is a benefit to the fan in general. That's what I would say. Because I don't hate the streaming, but what I do hate about the streaming is I can't change channels. I can't do this and that at the same time.
Which means you get no casuals, by the way. Like if there's nobody passing by ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and it's harder for the sports bars or restaurants to have it. I mean, it's just more hoops to jump through. And I'm a YouTube TV guy. I don't know what your cable supplier is or what you do, Calvin, but the split box, the quad box on YouTube TV, chef kiss. I mean, it's stellar, especially.
I'll tell you, we're on the subject basically as to what kept me away from YouTube TV, and I stuck with Hulu Live, and I did try out YouTube TV just a few months ago. It is the ESPN Plus integration. I don't have to get out of Hulu to get to ESPN Plus broadcast. Okay. They've actually integrated them into the guide. And when I found out that wasn't exactly the same it's exactly what you're talking about, because I knew I'm going to have some ESPN Plus interests whenever I get to my sports calendar. Unfortunately, I'm going to need to get there. That was truthfully, I mean, really the thing that kept me with Hulu, I guess, for whatever it's worth. Not that they're great. I don't know if any of them are great, but yeah, I think the fan is a winner here, and maybe some viewership as far as casuals or those outside of Big 12 frames of mind or Texas Tech frames of mind. Maybe you pick up some of that, but we'll see. But Tech will be on that list whenever they play host to Kent State coming up when they get the season started this fall. All right, thank you for that question. This question here, let's stick with the football program. Very simple one from Ben, should be easy to answer. Very simple one from Ben, should be easy to answer. Who's going to lead Texas Tech in receiving yards this season?
Caleb Douglas.
You didn't hesitate as long as I thought you would.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on this a little bit. I think there's an unknown there. I think if you really wanted to argue for Reggie Virgil, if you wanted to argue for Terrence Carter, if you wanted to make an argument for Coy Aiken.
You throw in Terrence Carter often, man. You're getting me amped on Terrence Carter beyond just a tight end context.
I'm wrong at times. We all are. We kind of give our opinion, and we throw a dart and maybe it doesn't land on the board. It hits. It puts a hole in the wall. I'm not wrong here on Terrence Carter.
I like to hear it.
But the answer that I would give you is this is assuming health. And there's no issues there, or somebody doesn't miss 2 to 4 games or something, something like that. I'm going to say Caleb Douglas. I think, you know what I would describe Caleb Douglas as going into this season? Wide receiver 1. That's what I would say. I would say that you're hoping Reggie Virgil is wide receiver 2. Coy Aiken could be a wide receiver 2 or 2/3. But I think Caleb Douglas is wide receiver 1. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Mark it down.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the obvious answer, but I wasn't so sure what the splits would be between he and some of the other options. Because I think Caleb Douglas will need to take a step in his career that he hasn't taken yet to be that guy. I very much believe he is capable and certainly was trending in that kind of direction last season. But it's sort of that either the man or the assistant to the man kind of thing. And he had a Josh Kelly cover security blanket, so to speak, as they all did last year. But Kelly's not here anymore. So you're going to be looking for somebody to fill those shoes. I would love for it to be Caleb Douglas because, man, that would be one of the most enjoyable, I think, transfer ads that we've had to kind of observe and not only see really show up and do good things, but progress after he showed up. I mean, within last season, I thought he really was able to come on and be a more consistent impact guy for Tech. So would love to see that continue to progress into 2025. Brent asks this question: where will, we've already mentioned her once, Nyjah Kennedy rank on the list of greatest Tech athletes ever by the end of her time here? As we're speaking, we don't know what the result of this College World Series will be just yet, by the way, so that could impact this, but she's going to be on a short list of really good ones.
Yeah, I mean, you would be asking us to project a bit, but had she, because this is going to be her third time to appear at the College World Series, third. Had she done all that in a Texas Tech uniform, I think you're probably saying that, this is Sally Kipyego, this is Cheryl Swoops type stuff, just by appearing in the Holy Grail in that sport 3 years in a row. To take them just the once in the first year is something that puts her in a certain conversation. Now, the chapters are still being written in this book, and if they were to win this thing, then yeah, put her in that conversation. I mean, that's an easy one.
Right.
If they do a little damage, then I think you could still probably fairly. I mean, Janine Becky. These are people that won here and elsewhere, like on big stages or Olympics or professionally or whatever it is from the female standpoint. But no, she's. I mean, how many females athletes have ever been, a finalist for Player of the Year in whatever sport? That conversation's got to be very, very small. So
yeah, no question.
And she didn't win it.
Go ahead.
Oh well, yeah, she didn't win it this year, but she did last year, and she was a finalist with two other athletes, and probably didn't win it this year because she won it last year. If we're being honest,
let's spread it around and be nice. Yeah,
spread the wealth. That's typically how some of that stuff goes. You're exactly right.
All right, thank you for that question. This one from Dustin: do you think it would be easier to do full NIL for basketball players and use the basketball rev share totally on football? He says it would seem to make it easier to get through Deloitte, don't call me Deloitte, numbers to get approval if we were talking double eagle dribblers starting 5 versus 20 or 25 football players. That was convoluted, but I'm making some sense of it. Chris, are you following? We just say we're going NIL totally with the hoops roster because there's only a handful of those guys. We'll use rev share for this massive battleship known as the football program.
Right. I get the question in the line of thinking. I really don't know what is going to ultimately play out here, as it was kind of on some of the shows that we've done this week already about some of the unknown about how NIL will work in a post house settlement world. If that is ruled on, we continue to wait. I keep wondering, is the judge on vacation? I don't, because I mean, July 1st is just coming down the tracks, man, quickly, and that's when all this stuff was supposed to be implemented, and that's when everybody's planned for and still really plans on operating this way, whether it's been ruled on or not. And I'm wildly curious about the NIL aspect of your roster and what you do, because you're going to be active in the portal. You're going to recruit well and all these things, but there's going to come a time where you have a chance to land a player, and it's kind of a game of this or that. Like he's going to either pick you or go the other one, and you're going to have an opportunity to get involved in an NIL agreement that you could seal the deal on it. And what does that look like? How much money would that be? Like, what kind of deal because there's a lot of talk out there now that there are people and coaches or general managers offering NIL dollars that they aren't even sure that exist, okay, or that will exist.
Really?
And they're yes, and these are reputable reporters that are out there, and that are saying this, and kids are buying into it. Like, okay, I'll sign off on a promise here, but what happens if you can't get those NIL dollars? What happens if? But the program is just simply wanting the signature and the prospect. Just get you in the door. We'll figure the rest out later. But I don't know. Anyway, so there's a lot going on, and it led to a conversation of, will we see defaulted contracts? Will we see people involved in these contracts, and it's like, hey man, this isn't what I signed. You know, you're not giving me what I asked for, what you said you were. Well, yeah, you're right. So we'll just tear it up, and I guess you're a free agent. I mean, you know, there's lots going on here, but we'll see. Texas Tech will continue to be involved in the NIL, whether it's double eagle, little dribblers or not. I don't know, but yeah, I lots of questions and not many answers as it relates to what life is going to look like in that post-settlement world.
All right, thank you for that question. For this next question, we're going all Ben Henschel mode. But to hear the answers to that, you're going to need to be a Matador Mob insider. So hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial for those on the outside. This is where we leave you. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss a thing, and become a Matador Mobster today for less than a cup of coffee a month so you can get the full Mailbag experience next week. Chris, appreciate your time throughout the week. Enjoyed it all the while. And we're on to the overtime, my friend.
Who is this Ben Henschel fella?
That's the question, actually. You guessed it.
Okay.
Who is he?
All right. Yeah.
We're going to get to that.
All right. Well, yeah, I appreciate everybody being with us all week. This little show of ours just continues to grow like crazy, and appreciate everybody listening. I saw some of you at Colonial Golf Tournament last week. I saw somebody at the Ranger game on Monday. Saw somebody at a restaurant with my wife and daughter earlier this week. I was eating there on my birthday, and had a couple listeners walk up. So anyways, just I know Calvin and we both appreciate it. I don't want to speak for him, but I know he appreciates it too. But yeah, just thank everybody so much for being a part of this one, and I guess we'll talk to you next time, and we'll try to get into this Ben Henschel fella, whoever he might be.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Daniel at the bank, who was handling some of my business at the teller line. Told me he was a Locked On Texas Tech diehard. All he did throughout the transaction, for the most part, was talk Texas Tech sports. So I don't know if he got all the numbers crunched correctly, but Daniel, I hope you made a mistake in my favor if there was any slip.
Speaking of Cowan's business interests, and I don't mean to delay our episode here. I don't think I'm stepping on any toes here, but can you tell the people, because I'm trying to help you out here, can you tell I saw lots of the questions about the ribeyes and like the beef purchase and like kind of
those were euphemisms for a life I used to lead back when I was dancing. My name on the stage was Ribeye, but I promised I was going to leave that life behind.
Okay.
You got to join us maybe in the overtime edition to get those kind of details. No, I have dispatched information to the interested parties via
Okay. I'm just making sure.
My wife is listening. I'm not going dancing again. I promise. That's a promise I made to you before God. I'm sticking to it. All right. Appreciate your time, Chris, and appreciate you guys for hanging with us throughout the week. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thanks to the everydayers for always riding along. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech. Ribeye out.